The Indianapolis Colts are back in action, taking the field here at the RCA Dome. The only undefeated team in the AFC as they take on the Washington Redskins, who are up against it, and they know they need to start winning to save their season. Dick Stockton along with Troy Aikman and Pam Oliver, and the Colts, coming off their bye week, are 5-0. But unlike last year when they were under tremendous scrutiny, this team largely is under the radar, and mainly because they have not dominated anyone so far this year, Troy. And in fact, the last two games they played, they've had to come from behind to win.
Well, that's right, and part of the reason for that has been the play of their defense. They're the worst in the league as far as their run defense goes. They brought in Anthony McFarland to try to help shore that up. But on the offensive side of the ball, this is a team that has grown accustomed in previous years to being able to create the big play and get the ball down the field. That's not been the case here in recent weeks because defenses are playing them a little bit differently. As a result, Peyton Manning's had to be much more patient with what he's trying to do within the offense. That doesn't mean it's not been frustrating for him, because it has, but I think the frustration is going to continue for him today, because I would expect the Redskins to force the running game to beat them here today.
Now, the Redskins have lost 2 in a row, and of course this is a team that's been a major disappointment this year. A lot of soul searching going on in the Redskin camp, and you have to wonder, with such a huge obstacle today on the road against this team, what their approach might be.
Well, you look at this team, and offensively, Al Saunders came in as the offensive coordinator and has brought a little bit different system from Kansas City, and they just don't seem to have been able to find exactly what it is that they're going to be good at, and that's surprising to me, because when you look back at last year when they had their success, it was due to being able to run with Clinton Portis. He was the workhorse, and I know that he's experiencing some frustration of his own that he has not been depended on so far this season. Now, I think coming into this game, due to the fact that the Colts are struggling with run defense, I fully expect Clinton Portis' tongue to be dragging the ground before he comes out of this game today.
He only had 14 carries last week against Tennessee, and one of the weapons, Reggie Wayne, and there is the newcomer, Anthony McFarland, who, of course, he and Tony Dungy go back to their days at Tampa Bay. The Redskins have won the toss, and they will get the ball first. And Mark Brunell will engineer that offense as we start the game. Adam Vinatieri, who was inactive the last 3 games with a groin injury, is back kicking for the Colts. And back deep is Rock Cartwright. He's dangerous. Returned to kickoff 100 yards against Dallas earlier in the year. And this game is underway, and the short kick retrieved by Cartwright at the 10. And Cartwright will bring it out as we cross the 30-yard line, and right now we will welcome in Pam Oliver, and let's go down to Pam.
Hey there, Dick. The Colts were hit with some pretty scary news before the game. Defensive tackle Monte Rager was involved in what's being called a serious accident. He was on his way to the stadium when his SUV was hit by another car, forcing it to flip. He apparently was not wearing a seatbelt. Tony Dungy told me just a little while ago that Rager is stable and alert. The team doctors are with him monitoring his progress. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. And our prayers are with him. And Anthony McFarland will get the start in place of Rager. First down. Santana Moss in motion, and Clinton Portis goes nowhere. Second down and 10 after no gain. Moss and Lloyd out to the right, and again it's Clinton Portis, and this time he is knocked back for a loss by Gilbert Gardner, the strong side linebacker, and a loss of 3 yards, and third down and 13. Brunell sees the pressure, and a pass complete to Clinton Portis, and Portis will be stopped about 2.5 yards shy of the first down. So it'll be 3 and out after the 11-yard pickup, and cornerback Nick Harper making the play.
Well, not a great start there for the Washington Redskins, as we talked about coming in. I mean, this is a team that has been struggling offensively. And the one thing you want to do when you are struggling is try to develop some type of confidence early in the game. Coming out here on your first possession 3 and out is not the way to do that.
And Derek Frost with the kick, and back deep is Terrence Wilkins. And Wilkins fields the ball at the 7-yard line and goes out of bounds. Wilkins inactive 2 weeks ago because of the concussion. So here we go with Peyton Manning, and he has had great success, to say the least, against the NFC. A 9-1 record, completing 72%, only 4 interceptions. What a ratio that is with touchdowns, and a very impressive passer rating.
Yeah, I know that relates to his games against NFC opponents. You could probably say the same thing for how he has played against AFC opponents. I mean, you look back at what he's been able to do. I mean, he's played well against virtually everybody.
Starting from the 8 is Peyton Manning in the Colts offense. And Dominique Rhodes gets the call on first down and crosses the 10-yard line. 2nd down and 7. And Manning with his first pass attempt to Reggie Wayne, and a first down at the 21-yard line. Not an easy task, as Manning throws on first down, and the pass is caught by Ben Utecht. So Utecht, the H-back, who had a back injury and did not play in the last game against Tennessee 2 weeks ago, picks up 14.
And Utecht and guys like Dallas Clark, and then the tailbacks of Dominique Rhodes and Joseph Adai, those are going to be the guys today. If the Redskins continue to play coverage, that 2-deep shell, that interior pass receiving core is going to be the ones that are getting featured.
First down at the 35. And here's Rhodes, and trying to swing to the outside to no avail. Marcus Washington, the strong side linebacker, makes the tackle. So looking problems defensively on opponents' first drive this year.
Yeah, and that's, it's hard on any team. And when you're struggling and your offense is struggling, what that points out is that you're right from the beginning playing from a deficit, and that puts pressure then on your offensive team, especially when it's a group that has not played better than what they have on that side of the ball.
Greg Williams, who runs the defense for Joe Gibbs. 2nd down and 10. Manning completes the pass to Reggie Wayne, and Wayne may have the first down by virtue of his forward progress, as Kenny Wright and Andre Carter were there.
Well, in that time, the Redskins decide that they're not going to play coverage. They're expecting run, so you got Kenny Wright one-on-one on Reggie Wayne. Now, Kenny Wright was a guy who was brought here to the Redskins to really be a 3rd or 4th corner, but due to injury, he's been asked to play, and they've had to give him help, and when he has not had help, teams have gone after him.
First down for the Colts on the 46. They started from their own 8-yard line. Dominique Rhodes slices off left tackle and is upended just shy of the 50-yard line. The Colts have played close games most of the year. All their games, and they've been wins, decided by a touchdown or less, with the exception of Week 2 against Houston.
Yeah, the Houston game in Week 2, that was their best offensive performance. Over 500 yards of offense in that game. The other games that they've played, I mean, they've been good, but they've not been as dominant as what we're used to seeing. And
I think, Troy, that this team loves the fact that no one is really making a big deal about them so far. 2nd and 7 on the Colts 49. Good protection for Manning, and the pass caught at the 40. So Utecht with another reception, his 2nd of the game, picks up 11 yards, gets into Redskin territory, and another first down.
Well, watch the safety here. He's going to come up. He's going to try to show disguise, and then he drops back. He initially was closer to the line of scrimmage. The one thing you're not going to do against Peyton Manning is confuse him as far as what the defense is trying to do. He's been in this league far too long. I think sometimes defenses against Peyton Manning find themselves in some tough situations because they're not able to get back to where they need to be as a result of the disguise.
On the 8th play of the drive, play action up the middle, and the pass caught by the tight end, Dallas Clark, still on his feet, down to the goal line. And wide open was Dallas Clark. A 40-yard play, and it was Kerry Campbell starting in place of Lamar Marshall at linebacker that prevented the touchdown.
Well, again, you got the safeties here. They're in the 2 deep, and so the vulnerability of that defense is right down the middle. Now, you got to get a linebacker. Kerry Campbell, remember, Lamar Marshall is not playing today, their usual starter. Kerry Campbell is the guy who's got to carry that receiver, Dallas Clark, up the middle. He failed to do that, and that's just an easy completion.
So it'll be 1st and goal at the 1, and Darrell Reed, a defensive lineman, is the fullback, number 95. And the handoff is to Dominique Rhodes. And Rhodes did not make it. And Sean Taylor coming up and making the force from free safety prevented that touchdown attempt.
Well, Joseph Adai, he tries to go up over the top. Actually, Dominic Rhodes, excuse me, he tries to go up over the top, and then you got Sean Taylor right there to meet him in the hole. It's a difficult time to be able to try to go over the top of the pile when you've got defenders that are piled in there in the middle like what Taylor was.
And now Darrell Reed is out in a slot to the left, and the pass incomplete to Dallas Clark. And when was the last time we saw a defensive lineman lining up as a receiver split on the offense? They'll bring up 3rd down and goal. Colts getting down to about a yard and now having problems. The first incompletion thrown by Peyton Manning in the series.
This will be a huge win for the Washington Redskins if they're able to stop them here and force the Colts to try to settle for a field goal.
3rd and goal from the 1. Play action. Manning fires. And the pass caught, touchdown by Dallas Clark. So Peyton Manning using Ben Utecht and Dallas Clark, his H-back and tight ends, largely in a very impressive opening drive by the Colts.
You know, it's pretty good coverage, too. I mean, Dallas Clark is going to come off the ball, and he's going to be working the baseline. Good action in the backfield, trying to get the linebackers to bite. I mean, that was a ball that Peyton was able to put away and low. Dallas Clark, I think he's really one of the unsung heroes of this team. I mean, he creates such advantages within the matchups.
Vinatieri with the extra point to give the Colts a 7-0 lead, and the 3rd touchdown reception of the season for Dallas Clark. So the Indianapolis Colts, who are 3-1 under Tony Dungy after a bye week, take the early lead.
Sorry, Dick. I know the one thing that Peyton talked about was, you know, yes, their defense has been struggling. We've not done a very good job as far as stopping opponents running the football. The thing that we can do best, as you can see Dallas Clark, he's going to be working that baseline there with the play action in the backfield. And he just does a good job of creating a little bit of separation. But the ball had to be thrown perfectly. Posey was there in coverage, and good execution on their part. But he was saying the best thing that they could do was get a lead, because that's not what they've been able to do here in recent games. And if they can get a lead and start forcing the opponent to not be so comfortable just running the football and trying to shorten the game on them, that it may in fact open some things up. And so this was a good start on their opening possession to be able to go down and get 7 points.
Really good 92-yard drive, eating up nearly 6 minutes. And all of the 9 touchdowns thrown by Peyton Manning this year have come on 3rd down. In fact, 2 weeks ago when they defeated Tennessee in the come from behind game, they did not score at all in the first half. Redskins DBs over on the side as Adam Vinatieri kicks off, and Rock Cartwright a yard in the end zone on the return. Cartwright hit hard, and Cartwright is down at the 25-yard line. Game 2, 1st down for the Redskins on the 26, and Mark Brunell on the slant completes to Brandon Lloyd, and a 7-yard pickup on 1st down.
You know, Mark Brunell, he's had a pretty interesting year, you know, so far here after only 6 ball games. Came out early in the season and struggled, and then he went through a 2-game stretch where he played very, very well. And now these last 2 games have been a little bit of a struggle. And, you know, I think a lot of it has to do with he's just trying to get acclimated and more comfortable with what it is he's doing within this new offensive system.
2nd down and 3, and the pass again to Brandon Lloyd. It'll be the 1st down and out of bounds, picking up 8 yards. So 2 passes to Lloyd, net Brunell and the Redskins 15 yards.
Well, and that's a good start there, just getting the ball to Brandon Lloyd. I mean, here was a guy who was brought in, who was expected to be able to contribute a great deal, and he really has not up to this point. No fault of his own, but to be able to incorporate him into the game plan here early. There's Al Saunders, the architect of this offense, brought in the offseason to try to inject a little bit of life. So far, that's not been the case.
First down at the 41. On the second possession for the Redskins, Clinton Portis going outside, finds a little running room and is pushed forward to the 46-yard line. And of course, one of the problems with the Redskins may be they're trying to satisfy too many players and having too many guys touch the ball instead of a couple of the main people.
Yeah, you know, I've heard a lot of people say that, Dick, and I'm not really sure that's the case. I think that Al Saunders knows who the playmakers are on this team, and they're really Santana Moss and Clinton Portis. Now, Clinton Portis has not run the football as much as what we had seen from him a year ago, but the philosophy is a little bit different. With Al Saunders, he definitely wants to be more balanced.
Second down and 5. Brunell getting time, swings it out to Clinton Portis, and Portis appears to be just shy of the first down. Gilbert Gardner, the linebacker, stopping Portis. We said carried only 14 times, but they're looking for a lot more touches from him. In fact, he caught 5 passes last week against Tennessee.
Well, they want him to have 20 to 25 touches a game, and that's a combination of any kind between receptions and then rushes. But when you've got a guy of his ability who can take it the distance each and every time he touches the ball, it only makes sense to get it into his hands as often as possible.
Third down and 1 at midfield, and here is Portis diving for the first down, doing a little juking along the way. And he gets to the 46 of the Colts, picking up 4.
You know, this is a nice drive here because, you know, in visiting with Al Saunders, I know last week watching that game, there were some opportunities for some big plays against Tennessee. They just failed to connect on them. And some of this process right now is Al Saunders getting a little bit more comfortable with the things that Mark Brunell does well. And in today's game, they want the ball coming out quick and take advantage of some of the things that Brunell does well.
And here is Brunell getting pressure, and the pass caught by Cooley and does not get out of bounds. He gets only 1 yard on the play and hit by Nick Harper, the cornerback, with under 4 minutes to go in the first. Dick Stockton, Troy Aikman, Pam Oliver here in Indianapolis. The Colts scoring on their opening drive, going 92 yards to 7-0 lead over the Redskins. Redskins at 2-4, critical game for them against the unbeaten Colts. And Clinton Portis getting a lot of attention early. Picks up a couple of yards with Brackett and Cato June, the linebackers, bringing him down.
Well, and the other part of that is, you know, on that play there, 2nd and long, you try spreading them out, showing a passing set, and then you run the draw to Clinton Portis for not many yards. Now you're looking at 3rd and 7. If you're going to run the ball to Clinton Portis, then you've got to be able to run the ball effectively. So far here, now it's early, but 5 carries for only 7 yards.
And Liddell Betts comes in the game. Good receiver out of the backfield. Brunell perfect thus far. Third and 7. Pressure coming in, and Brunell can't handle the rush of Marlon Jackson. A cornerback blitz dialed up by the Colts, and Brunell has to get rid of it in a hurry. 4th down coming up.
Yeah, you get him into 3rd and long, and then all of a sudden you bring pressure off the edge, and that's to Mark Brunell's front side. You know, Chris Samuels tries to get a hand on him, but it's just too late. And obviously, I mean, that's one of the things. Your careers, then they're not nearly within the pocket.
Derek Frost trying to keep it in the field of play, and the fair catch called by Terrence Wilkins inside the 15-yard line. Timeout. The Colts lead the Redskins 7-0. And welcome back to Indianapolis, where the Colts starting off 5-0 for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. And of course, last year went up to 13-0 before losing, and did not even get to the Super Bowl as they were shocked by the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Colts started from the 8-yard line, their first possession. From the 13 here. Joseph Adai, the rookie running back, for the first time, and his first carry. 2nd down and 6 in a fast-moving first quarter. And the pass is caught by Marvin Harrison, his first catch of the game. And that will be short of the first down by a couple of yards. It'll be 3rd down and short. Harrison, who caught his first touchdown pass of the year 2 weeks ago. Harrison lining up on the right on 3rd down and 2. And a false start penalty will be called, the first flag of the game. Scott Green is the referee.
False start. Offense, number 73, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So they call it on the right guard, Jake Scott. So instead of 3rd down and a couple, it'll be 3rd down and about 7.
You know, Tom Moore, their offensive coordinator, Peyton Manning is very fortunate. You know, his entire 9-year career has been played under Tom Moore as his offensive coordinator, even though Jim Moore was here as the head coach for a period of time, and then now obviously Tony Dungy. He's had the same offensive coordinator, Tom Moore, and he's also had the same offensive line coach, Howard Mudd, and that's one of the reasons among many that they've been as consistent as they've been.
Stability. Manning with a pump fake and open and trying to extend himself as Ben Utek, and incomplete. They had something good in mind, and on that first drive, Manning threw 4 passes to his tight ends or H-back. So 4th down coming up.
Well, they had a chance, yeah, and it looked like if Utek had just been able to run a little bit more, he might have been able to get underneath that one. But clearly, they're trying to take advantage of the matchups with both Dallas Clark and then Utek, because if teams are going to try to roll to the outside on Reggie Wayne and then Marvin Harrison, those are the guys that are going to have to win.
Hunter Smith with his first punt, and Antoine Randall, a beautiful punt. Hung in the air for a long time. Randall looking for running room, and he's got some. And a great job of ad-libbing by Antoine Randall as he returns the punt 25 yards, and the kick went over 50 to begin with. So good field position for the Redskins as they trail the Colts 7-0 with less than a minute remaining in the first. Welcome back to Indianapolis. There is Howard Mudd, who Troy Aikman was referring to, assistant coaches who have lent a lot of stability by being here with the Colts for many, many years. The Redskins starting from the Colt 45. Mark Brunell's pass, and it's caught. First down to Santana Moss, still on his feet as he gets to the 30-yard line.
Well, this offensive line up front for Washington is a group that's played together for a few years now, so they're doing a good job as far as knowing what each guy is expecting from one another. And as you saw, Mark Brunell had some time there, and then Santana Moss. I mean, this guy, of course, last year, the season that he had, he was brought in to be the big play guy. He was definitely that. And I know they want to get the ball into his hands as often as possible. That was a good start.
15-yard gain. Redskins on the Colt 30, pump fake, and they're extending it in the pass, and 2 receivers in the neighborhood, both Moss and Brandon Lloyd, were within steps of each other.
Yeah, that's not usually the way things are drawn up. Initially, Mark Brunell was looking for Chris Cooley, the tight end. You can see as he comes off the ball, he gets knocked down there by Robert Mathis. And so Brunell immediately has to get off him and then try to throw the ball late on a deep throw.
Moss is the leading receiver for the Redskins. Caught 5 last week, but only average about 10. He's got to be their big play guy. So it'll be 2nd down and 10 with 10 seconds to go in the quarter. The slant caught by Brandon Lloyd, and he spins his way for a first down inside the 20. And that will be the last play of the first quarter. A gain of 12 yards. And Brunell looking very sharp, 7 of 9 in the first quarter. And that ends it with the score 7-0 Colts. Start the second quarter here in Indianapolis. Dick Stockton, Troy Aikman, and Pam Oliver. There you see the Colts have outgained the Redskins, who only have 8 rushing yards. They have rushed 5 times and passed 9 thus far, which is not the total balance they want, but he's doing the job. Brandon Lloyd with 3 catches so far, coming over after 3 years with the 49ers. So it'll be first down on the 18 of the Colts. Moss going in motion. The pitch to Clinton Portis, giving ground and going down. Good run defense that time by the Colts, who have had problems there, led by Cato June. Loss of 7 yards.
Well, Indianapolis, you're going to see Cato June here. Indianapolis is not a real big defensive front. Their front seven, whether linebackers or defensive line, is not very big, but what they lack in size, they make up for in speed. So when you start trying to run laterally against these guys, you're not going to have a whole lot of success. The teams that have had success against them, and there's been many, have done it by running at them.
So only 1 yard gain in 6 rushes, and it's second down and 16. And Brunell will go to the air under deep pressure and not get away. A flag goes down. Dwight Freeney, who has yet to have a sack this year. And let's see if we have a face mask on this play.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, hand to the face, half the distance to the goal, first down.
Yeah, he came in, Dick, and it looked like he got his hand on his face mask. He gave the patented Dwight Freeney twist, you know, in order to get separation. And you see there the right hand. And you know, as we know, I mean, you can't grab the face mask no matter who you're talking about, but anytime you go high on a quarterback, even if he hadn't grabbed the face mask, they might have gotten the call.
Loss would have been 11 yards, but instead, as a result of the penalty, it'll be first down and 10 from the 12, to the dismay of Tony Dungy. And the Indianapolis Colts coming into this game last in the NFL in red zone defense. That's Freeney. First down and the handoff to Portis. Not been easy for the Redskins to run early in this game. A loss of 1, and once again Cato June, native of Washington, D.C., and a Pro Bowl participant last year, makes another play.
I mean, this is really pretty remarkable, Dick. I mean, when you consider where the Colts were in run defense coming into this game, last in the National Football League and last giving up 5.2 yards per average. Right now, Clinton Portis 7 carries for 1 yard.
Think they worked on it during the bye week a little?
I mean, did Anthony McFarland have that big of an impact on this team?
Second down and 11. And Brunell stepping up and fires. And let's see, it's going to be Santana Moss, but he did not have his feet in bounds or in the end zone. And it'll go incomplete. He found Moss in the back, but he couldn't stay in.
No, and that's because the ball was high, and that's where the ball had to be thrown. But if Mark Brunell was able to throw it low, then you've got Santana Moss being able to go down and make the catch and put his feet in bounds. Now, this was closer than what it initially appeared. He makes the catch. Now, does he get his feet down? And he's on the line with his first right foot. Of course, the official right there to make the call.
Third down and 11. Pressure put on Brunell, picked up nicely, and the pass into the end zone to Cooley for the touchdown. And great job at pass protection by the Redskin offensive line and backs, and a 13-yard pass to Cooley for the score.
Well, just good enough protection. Cato June is going to come off the edge, and he's going to be hitting Mark Brunell on his backside. As you see there, 59 working against Samuels, but Brunell is able to buy just enough time and then lay it to the corner to Chris Cooley. He's on Mike Doss. And then Nick Harper sees him coming to him, but was unable to make a play on the ball either.
So 2 touchdowns in as many weeks for Cooley on the receiving end, and Nick Novak, who replaced the veteran John Hall, who is out for the year, ties the game 7-7. Redskins started with great field position and took advantage. The Redskins tie it up. And a 45-yard short drive, but the Redskins got the touchdown as Chris Cooley, who Al Saunders wanted to use him like Tony Gonzalez that he had in Kansas City.
Well, we mentioned earlier about trying to get the ball to Santana Moss and then Clinton Portis. Chris Cooley is that other guy. I mean, he has proven it for a few years now that he's a playmaker.
Nick Novak's kick headed for Terrence Wilkins on the 12. And Wilkins loses the ball, but it goes out of bounds after the hit by Sean Taylor. Big penalty on Freeney, which set up the touchdown. Roughing the passer, and then Brunell responded with a nifty 13-yard touchdown pass to Chris Cooley to even things up. Their respective coaches Two of the greatest and the respective quarterbacks as the Colts begin from the 27-yard line. 7-7 to score. Dominique Rhodes. Not much on first down. Anthony Montgomery, the rookie from Minnesota, making the tackle as the Redskins are using Evans, Montgomery, Golston, and Wynn backups in the defensive line right now. Let's look at the two quarterbacks thus far and how they fared.
Well, it's been a good start, really, for both of these quarterbacks. Peyton Manning having to be patient because of the style that the Redskins are showing with the two deep shells, and then Mark Brunell wanting to get off to a fast start, and he's been able to do that.
Adai and Rhodes are both in the backfield, and the fake handoff and the fake end around, and Manning can pick and choose, and going deep, overthrowing Marvin Harrison. Well, they had an idea.
Yeah, and Troy Vincent playing safety now. They picked him up this week from Buffalo. When Buffalo finally released him, he came into the league as a corner. He's played some safety while he was with Buffalo, and it looked initially like Peyton was trying to get the ball to Joseph Adai, but Vincent was there on coverage.
Vincent worked during the week as a safety. Another big name joining the Redskins. Third down and 8. Pressure on Manning. Pass caught for the first down to Marvin Harrison. So Harrison makes the grab up to the 37-yard line, picking up 8.
Well, they get him into 3rd and long, and that's generally when defensive coordinator Greg Williams likes to bring some pressure. He did not do that on that play. Just a zone cover 3 defensive scheme. Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning have just spent too much time working together not to be able to pick that zone apart.
They have more touchdowns combined than any duo in NFL history. And a first down on the 38. Joseph Adai, rookie from LSU, first down. Marcus Washington brings him down finally after picking up 11. And you're going to see a lot of Joseph Adai in the Colts' future.
You know, and again, as you're going to see, the safeties here for the Redskins are deep. And so what that means is there's only 7 defenders to try to stop the run. You see the hole that Joseph Adai has right there. And then the safety, Troy Vincent, comes up to make the tackle. But at that point, it's a 7-yard gain.
Colts at midfield. Completes to Wayne. Another first down. Reggie Wayne with the catch. From the 37. Play fake. Pass to Adai underneath. Breaks away for a first down and tackled inside the Redskin 20. Joseph Adai, a big factor on the series, gets 20 yards. Washington again with the tackle.
I tell you, this is why Peyton Manning is arguably the best quarterback in the National Football League. You're going to watch Dallas Clark. He's running a square in, and initially that's where Peyton Manning wants to go with the ball. Great coverage. He knows exactly where his check down is to Joseph Adai, and that's why they pick up the key yards.
Kendrick Golston shaken up for Washington. Back here in Indianapolis, and the injured player Kendrick Golston, the defensive tackle, the rookie from Georgia, who has played considerably and showed great promise, is replaced by Joe Salavea. First down at the 17 of the Redskins. Joseph Adai going outside, and Adai is hit by a couple of defenders, led by Sean Taylor, gets 2 yards on the play. Under 10 minutes to go in the second. Tied 7-7. And with Jacksonville losing to Houston in a huge upset today, 27-7, the Colts with a victory could go 3 games up in the AFC South. Golston has a strained back, not sure of his return. Fake handoff to Adai. Manning giving ground, loses the ball, and they're going to rule it as an incomplete pass. And there you see Peyton Manning shaken up, losing his helmet. And that's a sight that no one connected with the Colts ever wants to see, and now he wants a timeout.
Well, he got hit awfully hard, Dick. He was scrambling around there in the back, just trying to find somewhere to go with the football, and he got sandwiched between two defenders.
Philip Daniels and Andre Carter, two you don't want to be sandwiched against. You saw Jim Sorgi start to warm up.
Well, here's another look at the hit on Peyton Manning. Joe Salavea got him stepping up in the pocket, and then Andre Carter and Philip Daniels, and that's the hit there. Philip Daniels going up high on him around his neck and just snapped him back. Hard to tell exactly what it was that was bothering Peyton, though, but he's back in. Had he not have called timeout, he would have had to come out for a play.
3rd down and 8, and here's a dive, and the dive is tackled by Adam Archuleta, the strong safety, picking up 3 yards. So the field goal unit comes out, led by Adam Vinatieri, as the Colts try to regain the lead. Big acquisition by the Colts. Adam Vinatieri with the Patriots for 10 years and a Super Bowl hero on 2 occasions. Has yet to miss. This will be a 30-yard field goal attempt. And Vinatieri bangs it through. And the Colts take a 10-7 lead. So the timeout and a check on the meal ticket to this franchise. We'll be right back. Peyton Manning huddled over on the bench after setting the Colts up for a field goal and the lead. And speaking of field goals, we have had 3 big ones today. Morton Anderson with a 32-yarder in overtime to give the Falcons the win over the Steelers. How about Matt Bryant, as time ran out? There were like 3 seconds to go, from 62 yards to beat the Eagles, who thought they had that game won. And Lawrence Tynes with a 53-yarder to give Kansas City the win over San Diego after they had squandered a big lead.
Well, it just points out how important these kickers are, you know. And in this game here, Adam Vinatieri missing the last 3 ball games and now being back. And all of these games around the league come down to the last few minutes of a game, and as we just saw, oftentimes decided by a field goal.
Vinatieri with the kick, and Rock Cartwright fields on the 7. And Cartwright scrambles to about the 28-yard line. A 21-yard return for Cartwright. A lot of attention, as you might expect, to Peyton Manning. He is the franchise. We'll be right back. And they're working on the back of the neck of Peyton Manning. There was the hit on Manning that forced him to call the timeout and slow getting up, and a lot of people were holding their breaths here in Indianapolis.
Well, and you see the hit there on the neck, you know, with Philip Daniels, and as he's getting snapped back, that was the blow there, it appeared, that put the strain on that neck, and that's what they've been working on over on the sidelines.
First down on the 28-yard line for Mark Brunell, who's completed 8 of 11 for 71 yards and a touchdown. Brunell getting huge pressure and gets rid of it in a hurry up the middle. Mike Doss, among others, coming in. The strong safety with the blitz right down the pipe.
Yeah, you know, you get Dwight Freeney coming off the edge. Chris Samuels has already had his hands full with Freeney, and then Cato June coming off the edge as well. But you know, you got to give him some help. Chris Samuels is a terrific football player, the best offensive lineman for the Redskins, but going up against the quickness and speed of Dwight Freeney is just an awfully tough expectation for him.
And they know that Brunell, not a mobile quarterback at 36, handing off to Clinton Portis, makes a good move past the first tackler and then gets a first down and finally winds up near midfield. A flag is down. Antoine Bethea, the free safety, 21 yards on this one.
Well, they're finally able to get something going.
Number 61, 10-yard penalty.
Not now. They're going to call it back.
Yeah, Casey Robach is the one who was called for the infraction. He's the center. And he's called there against Anthony McFarland. 92 is who it was that he was holding. Looks like he had his arm, his right arm locked underneath, and that's what the umpire was able to see. Unfortunate, because it looked like Anthony McFarland was not going to be able to get there to make the play as it was.
Peyton Manning loosening up after they worked on the back of his neck. It'll be 2nd down and 20. Back on the 18-yard line. And in case you joined us late, Anthony McFarland, starting this game, was acquired by trade this week from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a 2nd-round draft pick. Of course, knows this defense of Tony Dungy's extremely well. He has 1 tackle thus far. And the handoff to Ladell Betts. And the change-up back for the Redskins goes up the middle and gets back close to the original line of scrimmage before Cato June stops him.
You know, and part of what happens when you're playing nose tackle is you're constantly going to see the double team. And McFarland is right here over the center. And so you've got the guard and center helping out. And all you try to do then is hold your ground. It's a very difficult thing to do, but he's got the size, something none of these other players have. He got moved to the 3-technique tackle once Warren Sapp left there in Tampa Bay. He's now playing the position he's most comfortable with and playing it very well.
So 3rd down and 10, and Brunell's pass, and it's caught by Antoine Randall L. So with 3rd and 10, the Colts, who have been one of the best teams in the league in pass defense, give up a 30-yard play to Randall L., the ex-Steeler.
Well, Gary Brackett is going to be here in the middle, and if you take a look at him, he's getting where he needs to get. This is the Tampa 2 defensive coverage, but he levels off, and as soon as he leveled off, that's what allowed Brunell to be able to get the ball in behind him to Randall L.
And the longest play from scrimmage of the game for the Redskins, and there's Randall L., who was a quarterback at the University of Indiana in Bloomington, lining up to the right, 1st down on the 42 of Indy. And the pass caught by Santana Moss, and it looked like the Colts knew exactly what was going to happen as Gilbert Gardner and Jason David were right there. Loss of 3.
Yeah, it's one of those screen passes that you see a lot of teams running these days. I've never been real fond of that play. It just seems that you're bringing a lot of people there and getting some pretty big hits on the wide receiver. Antoine Randall L. is who you mentioned, Dick, brought in the big play there on the previous play. You know, he's always been more of a return guy, but they're hoping that he can impact them a little bit more within their passing game here in Washington.
Redskins almost 2-1 pass to run, and on the delay, Clinton Portis back in the game, finds running room and gets inside the 30. Clinton Portis inside the 15 near the 10-yard line on a huge run. 34 yards for Portis before Bethea knocks him out of bounds at the 11.
Well, you know, the Redskins have been able to get a little bit of the passing game going, and then when you do that, you start opening up some holes. All that was a draw. Chris Cooley out leading the way and some pretty good blocking downfield, but Clinton Portis, I mean, once he gets down the field with some space, he's a hard guy then to bring to the ground. And, you know, he was bottled up early, but if you keep feeding him the ball, eventually he's going to break off one of those types of runs.
And Troy, that was his longest run from scrimmage this season, giving the Redskins 1st and 10 at the 11. And here's Portis, who is decked at the 9, picking up 2 by Mike Doss.
I just think, Dick, that a lot of times when you see a guy the size of Clinton Portis, you immediately, and as I'm getting ready to say, I mean, he got hit pretty hard there. He's going to come out. I think it looks like he eventually is going to be okay. He'll be back in the game. But what I was going to say is that, you know, sometimes with a guy his size, you immediately think, well, he can't carry the load and be the featured runner or be the workhorse. But you know, this guy's a tough guy. I mean, he's proven that he's capable of doing that and has done that.
And it does take some time to come back from that. 2nd down and 8, play action. And here is Brunell being chased by Freeney and throws the ball away. So Dwight Freeney chasing down Brunell, who wisely threw it away, bringing up 3rd down and 8. Still working on Clinton Portis on the sideline, and hurt after the 34-yard run. Here's the end of it.
Well, let's just see what happened. I mean, he got hit down low, and I don't want to try to describe exactly where he got hit. Maybe I'll leave that up to you.
That was, well, I'll just say it was the play after the 34-yard run. I'll just leave it at that. 3rd down and 8. Brunell loses the ball and covers up in a hurry. Robert Mathis was right there, but a flag is thrown, and there are a couple of Colts as Jackson and Santana Moss. Marlon Jackson and Santana Moss yapping at each other.
And it looked like that's where the flag came in. Here's Santana Moss. Let's just see what happens at the end. Well, Jason David comes up and he tried to just gore him with his helmet.
And you would think this one would go against Moss.
Yeah, I think that's what they saw. I don't know that they saw Jason David come up and knock Moss down.
Unnecessary rough. Number 89, offense, 15-yard penalty, 4th down.
Talk about the running of the Bulls in Pamplona. That's what Santana Moss must have thought about. So 4th down coming up. And there is Jason David. You were talking about him, who got the brunt of that headbutt.
Well, I mean, this is significant as far as the penalty goes because, you know, from where they were settling for a field goal was a relatively easy chip shot, but now
different story. So Nick Novak in his second game will try this from 49 yards out. And it hits the upright, bounds away, the kick is no good. So the penalty by Santana Moss really cost the Redskins. Let's hear it off the post. And then the crowd. Novak misses, and the Colts retain a 10-7 lead. So because of the lack of discipline on the hand of Santana Moss, it cost the Redskins 3 points. David made a good hit, and then Moss came back. I don't think that would hurt many people, but it cost them.
Well, it cost them not only the 3 points to tie the game, it also cost them valuable field position. Now you're giving the ball to the Colts on the 39-yard line.
And leading 10-7 here is Dominique Rose and Andre Carter coming in a loss of 5 yards, and an inspired defensive effort so far by the Redskins, who have allowed only 1 touchdown in this game and with 3:45 left.
Well, and Andre Carter was one of those big free agent signings for the Washington Redskins this year, and they've just expected a little bit more out of him. In fact, by their own admission, he's only had 1 tackle prior to that one in the last 2 ball games. So they'll say he's been very disruptive as far as rushing the passer, but he just hasn't gotten home all that often.
2nd and 15. Manning incomplete to Reggie Wayne. And it brings up 3rd down. So Manning, of course, the timeout called a few moments ago when he was sandwiched. They worked on his neck, but we have not had a report from the Colts as to his injury.
I'll tell you what, Dick, I really think this Washington defense is doing a pretty good job. I mean, that first drive, they gave up the big play to Dallas Clark, and Redskins have been plagued by that here this season, but I think they've got to feel pretty good with the way in which they've played, especially considering all the injuries they have on that side of the ball.
Allowed only 24 rushing yards thus far. 3rd down and 15. And here is Manning stepping up, and the pass complete to Brian Fletcher, and Fletcher shy of the 1st down. And a big stop there by the Redskins defense, picking up 12 yards. So it'll be 4th down with the ball at the 46-yard line, and credit Marcus Washington with a good play.
Yeah, and I just think that when you're having to protect corners the way in which the Redskins are having to do today, and they just gave the ball to the Colts with great field position, and now they're forcing a punt. I just think that they've played very, very well here in this first half.
And you might say this is kind of a game of desperation even this early in the year. Antoine Randall L going straight ahead. Antoine Randall L just has the punter to beat. And Randall L does it with ease. No flags are down, and an 87-yard punt return. Spectacularly silences the crowd. And a flag is thrown. Let's see if they throw one in the end zone for excessive celebration. But it'll go as a touchdown for the Redskins. That's the 6th career punt return touchdown for Antoine Randall L. And the Redskins take the lead.
Well, they just do middle return, and once he got through the initial wave.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 89. He penalized on the kickoff. Touchdown.
Now Hunter Smith, the punter, he's going to be in position to where he's got to go get him. Instead, he just kept backpedaling, and the more you backpedal, the more you give Randall L. the opportunity to make a play on you. You got to go attack the guy. It's the only chance you have.
And they call the penalty not on Santana Moss, but on Antoine Randall L. But it'll go as the touchdown, and Nick Novak with the extra point, and this crowd quieted with 2:24 remaining in the first half. An 87-yard punt return for a score, and the Redskins take a 14-10 lead over the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, Antoine Randall L., we just said it a little bit ago. I mean, yeah, he's playing some wide receiver, but he's really been known throughout his career as a return guy, and he's one of the best in the business, and he hits the middle. They do a good job of blocking for him, but then, you know, even there, you've got Hunter Smith, who is backtracking, but from the very beginning, when he realized that Randall L. was through the line, he was right in the middle of the field and had a chance to just go at him, but instead he continued to backpedal. And here's the all-22 look at it. Now, as you see, Antoine Randall L. is going to come through the middle. Now you got one guy, and he's right here, and that's Hunter Smith. Just a poor play on his part.
So the Redskins, Troy, have had a punt return right here for a touchdown by Randall L. And in week 2, a kickoff return for a touchdown by Rock Cartwright. So their return teams have hit pay dirt on a couple of occasions. And I was about to start talking about how this is a desperate game, and the Redskins can ill afford to fall to 2-5 in the NFC East, although the Philadelphia Eagles helped them a little bit by losing that game to Tampa Bay on that 62-yard field goal at the finish. But the Redskins know they have to start winning to help their season, having lost 4 of their first 6 games.
Well, I mean, you said it. They got a break today because the Eagles lose, and then, of course, tomorrow night you've got the Cowboys and Giants on a Monday night game. You know, and what's going to happen there? But one of those teams is going to lose that game. And so if the Redskins are able to find a way to get a win here, I mean, they're literally right back in the NFC East race.
And a tough game to win. Returned by Terrence Wilkins, and Wilkins is tackled around the 40-yard line. So an interesting game, and once again, the Colts, who did get on the scoreboard first in this game, find themselves in another tight battle.
Yeah, and you know, in the way they came out initially on that first possession, and they were able to get the ball down the field. They scored the touchdown, which is what they wanted to do, and develop a lead to where they could kind of take the Redskins out of just being content running the football. And now all of a sudden, you're right, they're playing from a deficit. And this Washington defense, I think we got to give some credit to Greg Williams, their defensive coordinator. He's done a heck of a job with the way he's called this defense here in the first half.
And as you mentioned, missing a lot of their people in this game. Carlos Rogers out with a broken thumb, not playing. They get Sean Springs back, who played a little bit last week. Cornelius Griffin, their best run stopper, out with a hip flexor. Lamar Marshall comes up with the sore ankle. So all over the place, the Redskins playing shorthanded. There is Springs, and hanging in there and leading by 4. So an offsides penalty called against the Redskins. They were offsides on the kick. So we'll do it again.
Well, I know when you're playing against an opponent like the Redskins here, going up against the Indianapolis Colts, and a team that you probably don't match up very well against. And I know there were a lot of concerns by the Redskins coming into this game, playing the Colts at home, that you need special teams then to play a role in the game, and not necessarily scoring touchdowns, but at least creating some field position. Now, they missed out on the opportunity for the field goal, but then Antoine Randall L., by being able to return that punt for a touchdown, those are the kinds of plays you need if you're going to come into someone else's house against a better opponent and steal a win.
So Derek Frost kicking the ball, and a whistle. And Derek Frost really upset. A flag goes down at the 25. What now?
Well, he took his helmet off, and you can't do that. And once he took his helmet, once Frost took his helmet off, the flag went in the air.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 4, half the distance to the goal, will kick off.
Well, the Redskins are leading, but they're kind of feisty today so far.
You don't see that kind of anger too often out of a kicker.
So Santana Moss called for a personal foul, and Antoine Randall L. that didn't really hurt after his touchdown punt return, and now Frost. So they'll mark some more yards off.
Well, now, I mean, we talked about the job that Greg Williams and this defense has done here in this first half. And Joe Gibbs can't be real happy, not with that and not with what Santana Moss did there on the previous possession, which kept them from being able to kick the easier field goal. But now what's going to happen is you're going to give the ball to the Indianapolis Colts with great field position here at the end of the first half.
And Nick Novak comes in and will kick it off the tee from the 5-yard line. So a golden opportunity for the Colts here with 2:20 remaining and all of their timeouts, or 2 of their timeouts remaining. So it's half the distance on the kickoff. You don't often see that. Deep kick by Novak, fielded by Terrence Wilkins. Wilkins does not get to midfield as he is stopped at the 47-yard line. Well, back-to-back 5-0 starts since the merger in 1970. Got to go back to the Chicago Bears under Mike Ditka. They did it in 85 and 86. The Denver Broncos in the 97 and 98 campaigns. How about the Rams? 3 years in a row managed it. And the Indianapolis Colts with back-to-back 5-0 starts since the merger, and trying to become the 9th team in history to start consecutive years at 6-0.
Well, in fact, the Colts, not only have they done it back-to-back, but they've been 5-0 3 of the last 4 years. And, you know, that's not, as we saw, that's not easy to do. It's especially difficult to do in today's NFL.
Adi Jamo is the injured Redskin. See where it happened.
Well, there's the hit right there. It was right at the point of the contact there with Dorsey.
So Adi Jamo being tended to with 2:15 remaining in the first quarter. Let's bring you up to date as the Colts scoring as Peyton Manning hit Dallas Clark with a touchdown on the first series. Brunell to Cooley answered that to make it 7-7. Manning got hit, lost his helmet, called timeout, and then the spectacular 87-yard punt return by Antoine Randall L, putting the juke on the punter and going in Hunter Smith for the touchdown. And so right now all of the Redskins' attention is on Adi Jamo.
Well, we've seen the Indianapolis Colts with some pretty good field position at various times here in the first half, and especially on the last possession, and they failed to do anything with it, and that's not typical, you know, for this offense. And you know, that's where some of the frustration grows. And when you're playing against a defense like the way the Redskins are playing them, like Tennessee did, and then the Jets, and you've got to be patient, it becomes frustrating when you're not able to get the ball down the field to some of the weapons that they have on the outside with guys like Marvin Harrison and then Reggie Wayne.
So the Colts with good field position starting from the 47-yard line after the Redskins had to kick from the 5. Inside fake handoff, tipped and intended for Clark, and it was Sean Springs who was inactive the first 5 games after suffering an abdominal problem and undergoing surgery.
Well, they try to come back to basically the same play that they got there on that first possession. It's just, and they had a chance on it had Peyton have been able to get the ball up just a little bit higher, but Sean Springs could have very easily have intercepted that ball.
Second down and 10. Pass thrown underneath and caught by Brian Fletcher, and a flag goes down back of the line, and the Redskins came on strong on Peyton Manning. He's having a rough first half physically.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Number 93 going low at the quarterback's legs. 15 yards from the end of the play. First down.
Philip Daniels, and that's one of the new points of contention this year.
Yeah, you can't go low on the quarterback unless you're blocked into him, and that's a hard one there. And I know that That's what you're not supposed to be able to do. But, you know, he's going over the top there of Jake Scott, and it looked like there might have been even a little bit of a pulling, you know, on him. And of course, Philip Daniels is the one who did go high on him that injured him there previously.
Washington Redskins coming in the game, leading the NFL in most yards penalized. And the clock winds down. Our 2-minute warning here in Indianapolis. The Redskins with a 4-point lead. It's Joe Gibbs, who has won 3 Super Bowls, but the Redskins 19-21 since he's come back. 2-minute warning, first down on the 31 of the Redskins. Manning completes to Brian Fletcher, who stops the clock by going out of bounds.
You know, we'll go back and take a look at the hit there on Peyton Manning. Actually, it was Marcus Washington. It was not Philip Daniels. The referee got it wrong. But there's the engagement, and then he just ran right over the top of Jake Scott. And to me, that should not have been called. I mean, the spirit of the rule is if a defensive player is taking a cheap shot low on a quarterback, but that was not the case there.
Second down and 1. Pressure on Manning, but he completes it to Marvin Harrison in the first down. To the 17, a pickup of 5 yards with 1:44 to go as the Colts line up. Manning has not been sacked, but tell you what, he's been hit and hit hard on a number of occasions and had to hurry.
And sometimes those hits are more effective than what sacks are.
First down, Manning pass, and it's knocked down, and it was Kenny Wright making the play on Reggie Wayne. Good play on Wright.
It really was, Dick. Yeah, he was in good position, and Reggie Wayne trying to run away from him. And you're going to see Kenny Wright, 25, stays on his back hip and then comes in at the last second. Now, they could have gotten him with the left arm. That's the one thing that he's got to be very careful of. But he was able to get the right hand in front and then knock the ball down.
Kenny Wright, who was with Jacksonville last year, has been a starter in every game this season because of the injury problems to Sean Springs and Carlos Rogers. So Greg Williams looking at the defense and a 3-man rush on 2nd and 10 with 1:25 to go in the half. Manning drills it, and the pass caught. It'll be a first down. Harrison again. 12-yard gain to Marvin Harrison, and first and goal at the 5 for the Colts. And the Redskins will call a timeout, their first timeout of this first half.
Well, because the Redskins are playing coverage, there's not a lot of air out there in order for Peyton Manning to fit the ball in. Marvin Harris doing a good job of making this catch, but as soon as he then makes the catch, then there's 3 guys around him that are hitting him.
And Kerry Campbell, the linebacker, very nearly got a chance to tip the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think so far this Redskins defense has given up some small chunks. You know, it's very difficult to try to contain this Indianapolis Colts offense. They've done a good job, you know, but the personal foul there on Marcus Washington, which was a questionable call, you know, certainly was able to then get this Colts team in a position to try to get a touchdown here before the end of the half.
You know, the Redskins playing very well, much better than they have in the last couple of weeks, but penalties stalling what could have been even a bigger effort. They lost 3 points in particular. So now first and goal at the 5. Handoff is to Dominic Rhodes, and Rhodes getting down to the 2-yard line. And by the way, Kendrick Golston, the rookie from Georgia, who came out with injury earlier in the second quarter, has returned to the defensive line for the Redskins. Second and goal from the 1. And they give it to Rhodes. Not going to make it. Knocked back, and it was Sean Taylor coming up from the secondary. And Marcus Washington once again, and we've said his name many times in this first half.
Well, Peyton Manning motioned Marvin Harrison down, and then they thought they might be able to pop one outside of his block, but the Redskins doing a good job there of getting to the point of where he was trying to get to and keeping him from getting into the end zone.
And it was Sean Taylor who really made the key hit there. So third and goal, seconds left, and the fade. Touchdown, Marvin Harrison. Redskins claiming he didn't have the feet in the end zone, both of them. But the touchdown to Harrison for 1 yard. You be the judge.
Well, he had to catch. Now did he get his feet in? There's one, and no. I mean, he got one in going against Mike Rump, and that'll be a booth review.
And they will definitely look at this one, and from that look, not even close. Well, Joe Gibbs threw his challenge
We will
flag.
review the previous play.
And I mean, I don't blame him for doing it. Again, Marvin Harrison working against Mike Rump. And, we've seen Marvin Harrison make that catch, maybe literally 1,000 times and get both feet down. But he just wasn't able to drag that left foot. It looked like a catch that he could have very easily made, and one we've seen from him many, many times.
And there's Greg Williams says, look, we got to challenge that, thinking not the feet, but he didn't have control of the ball. He had control. He didn't have both feet in.
That's right. Yeah, Greg's thinking that maybe it was a bobble from where he was. He's not able to see it. I don't think that they've shown it here at the stadium. But from here, it doesn't look like he got his other foot down. There's his right foot and left foot's out.
And, of course, Greg Williams obviously unaware that it's a booth review here. And this should go the Redskins' way.
And that's the first thing the quarterback always does on a play like that, is want to go talk to the receiver and, hey, did you get your foot down? Did you make the catch? And I didn't see that Marvin Harrison was real sure himself. The look on his face doesn't imply he knows either.
12 seconds remaining, and the Colts, by virtue of a big penalty to Marcus Washington, getting a chance to get the lead score here. And here is Scott Green with his verdict.
After reviewing the play, the receiver did not get his second foot down inbounds. It will be 4th and goal on the 1 yard line.
Now Adam Vinatieri is on the field right now, and Peyton Manning going off. And you know that Peyton would love to try to get 6 here, but Tony Dungy wants to get 3 for sure, as Manning goes into the locker room a little early to get a breather.
Well, I know coming into this game, the Colts led the league in red zone offense, but this Redskins defense has done a great job. This is a win here for this Redskins team.
Vinatieri with a 19-yard attempt. Peyton Manning watching from the tunnel, and the kick is good, and now Peyton can go in, and the Colts and the Redskins have 8 more seconds to go. So Adam Vinatieri, 2 field goals, cuts the Redskin lead to 1, but there have been some costly penalties in this game that has had a factor here. Santana Moss going after Jason David, and then taking the helmet off with Derek Frost. And then the penalty that is a bit questionable, Marcus Washington there, which gave the Colts a big opportunity. And Marvin Harrison did not have both feet in, but you're right, it's a win for the Redskins not to give up a touchdown in this instance.
Yeah, I'll go back and say it. I just think that Greg Williams and Joe Gibbs and this Redskins team, particularly the defense, just got to be very pleased with where they're at. Here going in at half, 14-13, and they've played well. They've held down an offensive team in Indianapolis that has the ability to put a lot of points on the board, and they've done it with a group that is pretty banged up and some guys that they weren't expecting to have to rely on coming into this season.
And of course, a lot of people crying for the scalp of Mark Brunell, and Joe Gibbs hearing none of that. He says, I'm not going to think about making a change right now, although you figure that if the Redskins were to have a tough game today and we still have a whole half to go, who knows what would happen during the bye week coming up for them.
Well, but the one thing about it is Mark Brunell has not played all that bad. I mean, there have been stretches where he's not played well, and there's been stretches where he's played outstanding, but overall, I mean, he has played pretty decent for this team.
You saw number 17, Jason Campbell, who is the young quarterback who the Redskins picked on the first round after moving up last year. And of course, Campbell is the future hope for this team. He has never taken an NFL snap.
I think one of the concerns right now with Jason Campbell is his 4 years there at Auburn. He had 4 different offensive systems that he had to learn, and in his 2 years here with the Redskins, he's now had 2 different offensive systems to learn. And They just don't know that he's ready yet within this offensive scheme to be handed the keys. And I would agree that their best chance to win, as we talk about it here today, is with Mark Brunell.
7 seconds left, first down, and Clinton Portis with the handoff, and that will take care of the first half as time runs out. But the Redskins have to feel good about themselves after the bye week. Joe Gibbs' team facing a Colt team ready for them, having some issues of their own, but Tony Dungy's Colts are in a battle here, and the Redskins with a slim 1-point lead going into intermission. So scoring on the first series, as you mentioned, Manning to Clark. It was 7-0 after one, and then Brunell hit Cooley. Antoine Randall with a spectacular 87-yard punt return, and 2 field goals by Adam Vinatieri. And this was the play that was reviewed upstairs, ruled that Marvin Harrison did not have both feet in bounds, and the Colts had to settle for 3 points. So the Colts know they can take a 3-game lead over Jacksonville, who are upset by Houston. You're going to get all the scores and highlights coming up very shortly, and the Redskins just trying to hang in there in the NFC East.
Well, and I think that it's important because last week in their game against Tennessee, the Redskins played very well in the first half, did not play well in the second half. I think that's going to be the challenge for them here today.
And that's the end of the first half. Stay tuned for the Visa halftime show after these messages. Redskins lead the Colts 14-13 as Peyton Manning and the Colts come out for the second half. Let's take a look at our fantasy stats thus far. Brunell and Manning each with touchdown tosses. Cooley and Clark with TD receptions. For the latest in fantasy stats, log on to foxsports.com.
I think you look at those stats there in the first half, and the Colts were able to move the ball. I mean, over 200 yards of total offense, but where the Redskins did a great job defensively is not giving up the touchdowns. 3 trips inside the red zone, only 1 touchdown, and 2 field goals for the Colts.
And the kickoff by Novak. Terrence Wilkins at the 7. Churning his way. What a great return by Wilkins. Legs never stop moving. 36-yard return as we check in with Pam Oliver.
Hey there, Dick. The Washington Redskins were in high spirits as they left the field. The defense in particular very psyched that they kept the Colts to a field goal going into the half. Joe Gibbs told me as well that he was extremely pleased with how hard the team is playing. As for the Colts, I asked Tony Dungy about the injury to Peyton Manning. He said he gave him a little more extra treatment in the locker room at the half, but he is fine and will go. Back to you.
And he will go from good field position to start here, Troy.
Well, and that's why we saw him in the tunnel before the half ended, so he could get in there and get a head start on the treatment.
From the 45, fake inside handoff, and the pass is caught by Ben Utek, and that's what was the recipe for Manning when they scored on their first possession, going to the tight ends in the H-back.
Well, that's right, and that's what you got to do when you're going to be facing this 2-deep zone defense. Marcus Washington levels off again, and there's just nobody carrying that guy. When you go 2 tight ends, they can run either one of those guys to the seam, and the middle linebacker doesn't know which one to then try to cover.
They got 21 there, and here's Joseph Adai, the rookie from LSU, showing why he was the #1 pick as he gets through a bunch of Redskin would-be tacklers, gets 21 more yards inside the 15. Kenny Wright makes the tackle, but Troy Vincent had missed him. Big one.
Well, Joseph Adai just does a good job of finding the hole there, and then he makes a few people miss. I mean, you've got 2 guys that should have been there in order to make the play. Rocky McIntosh, who's filling in for Lamar Marshall, was there to make the tackle and just failed to do so.
Adai, 42 yards on 5 carries. That's 8.4 a carry, and has a chance for more here. And still on his feet. What a run by Joseph Adai as he gets close to yet another first down. 9 yards on that play with Wright and Taylor from the secondary. What a show by Adai here in the third quarter.
Well, a lot of that just determination on Joseph Adai's part. In talking with him the other day, he said he doesn't really like the stretch play all that much. He likes quick hitting downhill type runs. and we can certainly see why after the last 2 runs, the way he's been able to hit it going north and south and make some people miss.
And Peyton Manning said, what I like about him is he's not afraid to ask why, and he questions everybody, including the offensive linemen. 2nd down and 1. Manning wants to get the touchdown here, and he does to Harrison. This time he could have put 6 feet in bounds, and a touchdown pass of 4 yards, Manning to Harrison. And the Colts regain the lead.
Well, this time Sean Springs was on him outside. You're going to see him here. Marvin Harrison going to the slant, and I think he was thinking that he was going to run the fade, at least where Sean Springs was lined up in coverage. But as soon as he steps to the outside and gives Marvin Harrison the slant, there's just nobody there in the red zone to be able to stop the route.
Adam Vinatieri with the extra point, and the Colts lead at 20-14. And you can talk about all you want about how the Redskins have hung in there, but against an explosive team, doesn't take long for them to really open up a big margin. Taking the lead again, and there's Marvin Harrison. Springs, and Cuba said the coverage wasn't that great, and the first drives of each half have been fruitful for the Indianapolis Colts today. Vinatieri kicking off, and Rock Cartwright at the goal line, bringing it back. They gang him up on him at the 21-yard line, and making the play was Darrell Reed. So Mark Brunell will go to work. 10 of 15 for 98 yards and a touchdown. And it's not too many shots taken by Brunell, but he has been very accurate in this first half.
Yeah, and I think that if you look back to last week and what they tried to do, they did try to take some shots down the field against Tennessee. They failed to do it. They got out of their rhythm. And as Al Saunders told us coming into this game, he wanted to get the ball out quick, do some of the things that Mark Brunell does best, the shorter passes, and Mark Brunell has been effective doing that in the first half.
Hands off to Clinton Portis, cutting upfield, and is tackled. All right, thank you very much, Chris. And it's Clinton Portis who is the injured Redskin, and of course we know about his shoulder problems that occurred in preseason.
Let's see if we can find out here exactly what happened, on contact, and hard to tell there, but he's still on the ground, and of course he took the hit earlier in the ball game and had to leave the game. And just as I was saying earlier in the game, how he is a very durable guy. He's a tough guy, but he's a physical runner, and they're going to miss him if he doesn't come back.
We'll take a timeout and be right back. And they were working on Clinton Portis' left leg, and then he got up and walked back and forth to see how he felt. Now sitting back down on the bench, replaced by Liddell Betts. 2nd down and 6 for the Redskins at their 27. And here's Liddell Betts. Big run by Betts, and dragged down from behind by Mike Dawes after a gain of 19 yards.
Well, here's the injury to Clinton Portis. It looked like Robert Mathis is going to be the guy whose knee right there on the back of Clinton Portis. It looked like right around the calf area, and whether or not he can be able to work that thing out to where he can return.
He had a 34-yard run in the first half, 41 yards in the game, but Betts has done well on 2 carries. Let's see how he does on the third as he gets a couple of yards. Betts gained 10 yards on his first carry of the game and then 19 on the second before picking up 2 here, as you see Portis trying to see if he can get back in there. Anthony McFarland making the tackle and forced to start this game. In case you joined us late, Colts defensive tackle Monte Rager was involved in a car accident early this afternoon near the Colts facility. He sustained facial lacerations, resting comfortably at Methodist Hospital here in Indy, and is accompanied by 2 team physicians. 2nd down and 8 on the Washington 48. Brunell getting away from danger and throws the ball away. Pressure that time by Dwight Freeney, bringing up 3rd down and long.
Yeah, Dwight Freeney, I mean, he really has been wreaking some havoc here over this left offensive side with Chris Samuels. And again, Samuels just not getting any help, with him. But, even though he wasn't able to get to Mark Brunell, that's where Brunell was looking to throw the football. And so he had to then scramble out to his right. The problem was there was no receiver in the area, and a good decision by Mark just getting rid of the football.
And he's been under siege today as well. 3rd down and 8. Open out of the backfield is Liddell Betts, but he's hit immediately and stopped about 5 yards shy of the first down by Cato June. So a big play by the Colt linebacker, and that will force the Redskins to kick.
That was a good defensive stand there. I mean, the one thing the Redskins didn't want to have happen to open up this second half was what did happen, and that's the Colts going right down the field and then getting the touchdown. And then you try to match that, and defensively the Colts doing a good job stopping them.
Derek Frost with the kick. Fair catch, Wilkins at the 19. Nearly 5 minutes elapsed. Interesting what happens with Clinton Portis. Well, it's apparent that royal blue is the color of this Indianapolis Colt team, and of course the Colts came from Baltimore. Uniforms never really changed. First down at the 19 for Peyton Manning. Joseph Adai, who was impressive in the last series, breaks another one for a first down. Archuleta grabs a shoe top after a 15-yard pickup. And let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Hey there, Dick. As you know, the Washington Redskins have taken a lot of heat for having 5 running backs on the roster, and this is a prime reason why. Portis, with that shoulder injury in the preseason, now getting treatment for something else. The Redskins report Portis has a lower leg bruise. They're trying to work it out and get him back on the field. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. And, of course, T.J. Duckett was acquired in a 3-team trade for insurance policy, they've said, in case Portis couldn't come back. They traded a 3rd-round pick for him. Play action, Manning, and the comeback play to Reggie Wayne is a good catch, and it's going to be about 1.5 yards shy of the first down.
You start getting that running game going the way that the Indianapolis Colts have, then it opens up some of your play action stuff. Then Peyton Manning, working off of play action, is able to get the linebackers up. Now you got a free window out there to Reggie Wayne. Good timing by both Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne on the completion.
Here's Joseph Adai cutting upfield and close to midfield, but he picks up the first down with Marcus Washington, a 6-yard pickup for Joseph Adai. So Peyton Manning leading the Colts, and it was 50 years ago today that Johnny Unitas, the great quarterback with the Baltimore Colts, made his first NFL appearance. And of course, Peyton Manning has a great sense of history. He has said that inspires me to wear his horseshoe helmet and be 1 number below him. Unitas wore number 19. There's a great book out on Johnny U written by Tom Callahan that Peyton is reading currently. Play action. Manning going deep. Caught by Wayne. Touchdown. A textbook play and a smile on the face of Peyton Manning. 51 yards to Reggie Wayne for the score. They went after Kenny Wright all the way.
Well, they went after Kenny Wright, and then based on the design of the route, they were able to get Adam Archuleta. He's the safety back here who hangs on Dallas Clark, who's in the middle. And as soon as he flattens out, that's what allows the ball to get thrown over his head then to Reggie Wayne for the touchdown. Based on the design, Kenny Wright expecting that he's going to get some help from Adam Archuleta.
Vinatieri with the extra point, so the Colts scoring on their first possession of the 3rd quarter, and then in their second, as Reggie Wayne with the second TD catch of the year. A picturesque play, and the Colts add to their lead. Extend their lead to 27-14 over the Redskins. Our producer, Richie Zients, our director, Artie Kempner, bringing you this game from Indianapolis as Vinatieri kicks off. And Rock Cartwright returning from the 1-yard line, trying to turn the corner. Finally goes down at the 15. yard line. Well, Troy, the Redskins have some catching up to do here with plenty of time, but they've got to get moving soon because the Colts are in rhythm.
There's no question. I mean, the Colts have been able to score on their first 2 possessions here in the second half, and you know, this game's going to get away from the Redskins unless they do something here on this possession offensively.
And Clinton Portis back in the lineup after injuring his right leg, and gets the handoff on first down and picks up about 3 yards. The last 2 touchdown drives by the Colts, and they didn't waste much time. 2 minutes and 1 second and 2 minutes and 2 seconds, and they can do that to you.
Well, they can, and it's something they've not been able to do much of here in recent games. But the difference was they were able to get the running game going, and then once they got that running game going, and then you can utilize the play action. Now you see Adam Archuleta start to respect some of those things, and it gives you some opportunities for some throws down the field.
2nd down and 8 from the 18. Santana Moss, the move man. And the screen pass to Portis, not going anywhere, and hit immediately. And it was Nick Harper leading the way. 1 yard is all.
You know, the one thing that starts happening, you know, we talked about the Redskins in the first half and the success that they've had with Brunell and throwing the quick passes. But you can't continually do that because the defense then starts crowding the line of scrimmage more and more, and it becomes increasingly more difficult to get anything out of those shorter throws. And they've got the guys, Santana Moss, certainly Brandon Lloyd, but they need to do something to get the defense off of them.
But Troy, this is exactly how the Redskins played it against the Giants. Never extended the field, and there's the pass out to Liddell Betts, who was hit hard after making the catch. And shaken up was Brunell as he got hit hard, but they never extended the field against the Giants, and not today.
Yeah, and I know that right now the Colts are starting to get a little bit of pressure, you know, on Mark Brunell, but even without pressure, that ball was coming out on a 3-step drop, and I just don't know what the thinking is in throwing that route. We've seen it a few other times already on 3rd down to where they complete the ball, but they're nowhere near the first down mark.
Derek Frost kicking from about the 10. Terrence Wilkins returning and doesn't get far. Good coverage by the Redskins punt team, but good field position as Wilkins is tackled at the 43-yard line by Mike Sellers, and a flag goes down. So Brunell, that's the hardest lick he's had to take today.
Well, the one thing about Mark Brunell, I mean, he's not a guy who's going to complain about injury. In fact, he had a toe injury.
Holding, receiving team, number 54, 10-yard penalty from the end of the run, first down.
Mark Brunell had the toe injury this week, which limited him some, but he's not one who's going to complain, and he looks like he's in some pain now.
And Peyton Manning with that touchdown pass to Reggie Wayne ties Sonny Jurgensen for 10th place on the all-time list. And there is Sonny with his unlit cigar doing the Redskins radio color, as he has done for countless years. One of the great players and figures in the NFL. First down on the 34. Stepping up in the pass, Reggie Wayne, and it's a catch. Not sure whether someone got a piece of that pass coming out. It's 14.
I don't think so, but you're going to hear Peyton Manning. He's changing the protection at the line of scrimmage. He saw pressure coming to his right side, told the offensive line to stay to that side with the protection. They block everybody up, and a great catch by Reggie Wayne.
And faking the pass, going to Marvin Harrison, who makes the catch and is ridden out of bounds at the 15. Harrison had beaten Sean Springs. Remember, he's just come back to action last week. And a 38-yard gain, and the Colts again are in business.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you that Peyton Manning knows that Sean Springs is not 100% on the outside. He's gone after him a couple times already. Double move here with Marvin Harrison. The pump fake took place, but Marvin Harrison just runs right by him. Sean Springs just not able to keep up with him. You know, anytime you run a double move, not the prettiest ball I've ever seen Peyton throw, but yet it was effective.
Harrison and Wayne have each caught 6 passes today. And a first down on the Redskin 14. Here is Joseph Adai. And Adai pushes inside the 10-yard line. And the Colts threaten again, a gain of 5.
Well, you started sensing it right after the first possession, you know, when they went down and got the touchdown, and then they did it again on their second possession here in the second half. And that's why I said if the Redskins don't do something, you know, sometimes you get in these games against an explosive offense, and you offensively, you just got to match score for score, otherwise you're going to get blown out.
And yardage-wise, they're getting blown out, and very soon, score-wise, what a field general he is. Here is Adai up the middle, and Joseph Adai will have a first down. It'll be first and goal inside the 5.
I just think, Dick, this Indianapolis team just has so many weapons. It's so rare in today's game. Now, the management, Bill Polian, you know, and Robert Irsay, and they've talked about, hey, we're going to be an offensive-minded team, and we're going to keep our star players, and they signed Peyton Manning to a long-term deal. They're able to keep Marvin Harrison. They then keep Reggie Wayne. And then you add to that Dallas Clark and Joseph Adai, and you have to let Edgerrin James go. But as a defense, it just puts a lot of pressure on these guys in order to slow them down. And,
of course, the big boss, Jim Irsay, who really runs everything for the Colts. He is the owner of the team. And a first down it is. And Tony Dungy was telling us the other day, he says, you don't want to lose an Edgerrin James, but we knew there were a lot of good running backs in the draft, and they got one in Joseph Adai. The losses that really hurt them were guys like Larry Triplett and Corey Simon, who's been injured, and David Thornton, who went to Tennessee on the defensive side. First and goal at the 4 for the Colts. To Joseph Adai to the goal line. Under 3.5 to go in the third, and the Colts knocking on the door to really opening up this lead.
You know, this guy Joseph Adai, he really is an impressive guy, and he's never been the workhorse. He wasn't the guy at LSU. He hasn't been the workhorse here. He's okay with that, but I think he looks forward to when that day comes. But I'll tell you what, he was running awfully hard here in this game.
85 yards and 11 carries for Joseph Adai. Second and goal. They're going to go to Wayne. Can't do it. Good coverage that time by Kenny Wright.
Yeah, that was a flat ball there by Peyton Manning. Just a very difficult adjustment to try to make for Reggie Wayne to make that catch. You're going to see the ball come out. It's pretty flat as far as trying to adjust. It was over his back left shoulder, but still a ball that he could have caught. In fact, it's a ball he normally does catch. I mean, both these guys, Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne, exceptional at the point of the catch.
Sean Springs out of the game, was hurt. Here is the pass. Harrison, touchdown! Marvin Harrison with his second touchdown catch of the day from a yard out. And it was Mike Rumpf, who had been a backup, forced to go in there with Sean Springs out, and the Colts took advantage in a hurry.
Yeah, and the Colts are going to go for 2 points in order to try to extend the lead to 21 points, which would then be 3 touchdowns.
And Harrison ties Lenny Moore with his 113th touchdown reception. He holds the record for most in a season.
Well, it's the same thing we saw before. Again, Marvin Harrison just coming off the line and running the slant route, and you got to come up and jam him. You just cannot let a receiver of Marvin Harrison's caliber take the middle of the field and expect to be able to stop him, because he's done it twice and they haven't stopped him yet.
Going for the 2-point conversion, and they got Rhodes and Adai. Fake handoff. They loft it in the air. Reggie Wayne, flag is down. Kenny Wright defending against Reggie Wayne, but a penalty marker thrown in the end zone.
Oh, Kenny Wright. I mean, again,
defense, number 25, half the distance to the goal. We'll retry the extra point.
I mean, it's really no fault to Kenny Wright. I mean, I know this is a guy who played 16 games, actually started 16 games last year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. but was not brought here to be a primary corner for them. And they've just got their hands full. I think Reggie Wayne is one of those guys who around the league gets great respect, but not a lot of people recognize the talents that he has. And it's just a difficult group to try to stop.
So now the 2-point conversion again from half the distance. Lofted in the air and beyond Marvin Harrison. So the Colts miss the 2-point conversion, but will take a 33-14 lead with 2:46 to go in the third. Harrison with his second of the day. And the Indianapolis Colts leading by a score of 33-14. Their highest point total was 43 in week 2 against Houston, the only game they won with ease. And right now they're coming off of their bye week and a very impressive performance after trailing at halftime 14-13. Tony Dungy, who has beaten all 32 NFL franchises. I guess you could say, well, yeah, 32, including Indy when he was with Tampa Bay. The return by Rock Cartwright with a wall in front of him, and Cartwright is hit shy of the 25.
We'll go back and take a look at the touchdown to Marvin Harrison. Watch Mike Rumph. He's in great position. He's on inside technique on Marvin Harrison, and he's there because you don't want to give up the inside. Now watch the move Marvin Harrison makes there, and you see how it just buckled Mike Rumph. I mean, that is a heck of a route by Marvin Harrison, getting a corner that is playing you inside technique to keep you from going to the middle, and yet you put a move like you're going to the fade and it completely opens up the middle for you.
Manning with 4 touchdown passes today. That's the 14th game he's had 4 or more. First down on the 24 for Mark Brunell. Drills it and overthrowing Santana Moss. Let's check in with Pam.
Hey there, Dick. Remember those good spirits I mentioned coming from the Washington Redskins at halftime? Well, forget about that. The Redskins' confidence seemed to be slipping away with each disappointing trip off the field. A lot of the players I spoke with before the game say this is one we cannot lose. We don't want to go into our bye week with such a bad feeling. With their roster and the money spent, we should be winning. That came from Sean Springs. Springs is currently on the sideline with cramps. Back to you.
And it'll be interesting to see and anticipate some moves that you may see during that bye week, Pam, if the Redskins go on and lose this one. Second down and 10, the inside handoff to Antoine Randall L. And Antoine Randall L., who had an 87-yard punt return for a touchdown, gets 9 as they set him up in the backfield.
Well, to go back on what Pam said, Sean Springs was one of the guys who was very vocal after their loss last weekend to Tennessee. And you know, a number of players frustrated with their performance. The playoff team from a year ago came into the season expecting to do a lot of great things on that fact alone, but then when you add some of the players that they added, they expected to be even better, and they've just not played to that level.
3rd and 1, and the Redskins call a timeout. This is a team that has not been in sync. Lost all their preseason games, lost their first 2 of the regular season, and then after 2 wins have dropped 2.
You're going to go home and listen to a little Lawrence Welk, aren't you?
Sure. 3rd down and 1. I'll get you back. Ladell Betts, first down. See what happens now? I'm going to have to go listen to those guys. 5-yard pickup by Betts.
You know, I was visiting with Mark Brunell before the game and talking about some of the things that they're doing within this offense. You know, last year they really put it together at the end of the season, and Bill Musgrave actually did a pretty good job of cleaning up some things within the passing game, and it helped Mark Brunell. And for a team that felt like they were really very close, in fact 2 wins away from going to the Super Bowl, I don't know that he and some of these other players felt that wholesale changes were necessary as far as what they were doing offensively.
That's been the history of the Redskin franchise, and whistle blows as Randall L. gets the handoff on the end around.
False start, 76, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Penalty on John Jansen. Well, you talked about how Brunell hasn't gone deep much today.
Well, and that was by design coming into the game. I mean, that's what they wanted to do, and you know, Mark is according to Al Saunders, very comfortable and at least more comfortable when he is throwing the ball on some of the shorter things and not getting back on the 7-step drops. But as I touched on a little bit earlier, when you get into a game like this, sometimes you got to scrap what it is that you thought you were going to do coming into the game and start doing what's necessary to try to win a ball game.
Called an adjustment, I think. This pass is caught by Chris Cooley, who's a good second effort with a few Colts on him. Gets him a first down and 16 yards. Brackett tried to bracket him, and they're close to midfield.
And in a game like this, I mean, right now, at least in the second half, Indianapolis has clearly dominated this game, but yet if the Redskins are able to just keep this drive going and get a touchdown on this possession, well, now all of a sudden you make this an 11-point ball game, and it becomes a game that then they're right in the middle of.
Over 400 yards total offense you saw for the Colts. 1st and 10. Brunell goes down, and it's Josh Thomas, number 91, second sack of the game for the Colts, as Brunell is knocked back 8 yards, and that will take us to the end of the quarter.
Yeah, actually it'd be a 12-point ball game if they're able to score the touchdown, but then when you take a sack like this, the one thing that they're not really able to overcome is negative plays, because they just don't have that type of offense to make it happen. Now there's Santana Moss and Jason David again. It's the second time, and he got him again with the helmet. He likes that move.
That's the end of the third quarter. Well, that was two-pack. What do you think of two-pack, Troy?
I'm not sure. I feel like no matter how I answer that, I'm going to get in trouble.
I told you that. You got me on 50 Cent. I'm getting you on two-pack. Quid pro quo.
Is it two-pack or Tupac?
Start of the fourth quarter. Dick Stockton, Troy Aikman, Pam Oliver. 33-14 game. Antoine Randall L. right now is behind the quarterback Brunell and gets the handoff. Antoine Randall L., who can do it all, gets the first, short of the first down, gets to the 49-yard. June, the tackle, picks up 11.
Well, it was a good run just to try to get it to a manageable third down situation, and
he's limping off too.
I mean, the Redskins today have been pretty decent, on third down, and I really believe that they have any shot at getting back into this ball game. Of course, I say that right on the heels of a Monday night game where Arizona collapsed, but that they need to score a touchdown on this drive.
They need 8 yards to keep the drive going. The pass caught underneath by Mike Sellers, short of the first down. So you wonder if you're going to get the necessary yardage by going underneath like that. They picked up 4.
I think the only way you throw that ball is if you're going to go for it on fourth down, which now it looks like they're going to. Initially, Mark Brunell started to run off the field, but that's got to be about the 4th or 5th time today. Now, not always can you throw it beyond the first down markers, but too many times in this game, we've seen the Redskins throw the ball well short of the first down marker and not even be close.
Joe Gibbs' team has yet to convert a fourth down conversion on a couple of tries. They need 4 yards. Brunell stepping up and drills it, and the pass is out of bounds. Let's see, Santana Moss caught the ball. Far sideline, tough catch by Moss. Didn't quite see the catch.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dick, it was high and away, and I mean, look at the catch, one-handed. I mean,
great play.
It's just great concentration on his part being able to pull that one in, because when it left Mark's hand, I didn't think there was any way that Santana Moss was going to be able to get to that ball and make the catch.
Kept both feet in as well and kept control. Great play by Moss. First down on the Colt 37. Liddell Betts gets the pitch. And Robert Mathis makes the tackle after a gain of 2.
Robert Mathis is he's a guy who this year got his opportunity to be an every down player. Prior to this year, he was really just a third down pass rush specialist, but he played a lot on special teams. And then this year, he's not playing on those special teams, and he's playing on first, second, and third downs, and he's probably their best defensive player this early in the season. In fact, he says he feels even better this year, even though he's playing more defensive snaps, because the special team snaps took so much out of him a year ago.
Has a sack today and 5.5 for the year to lead the team. Here's Brunell, and Brunell completes it again to Mike Sellers. to the 34, getting only 1. 3rd down and 7 for those fans. And the quick toss, and the catch is made at the 25 by Chris Cooley, and he edges forward for a few more. 12 yards and a first down to the 22.
I'll tell you what, Mark Brunell is getting hit a little bit here in this second half, and he's limping around, and he hung in there. And Robert Mathis going against John Jansen on the outside, and is the guy who put the hit on Brunell, but he hung in there just long enough to get Cooley. Now that's one of the few times they've completed a ball on 3rd down, and it was actually enough for the conversion.
4 catches and a touchdown for Cooley today. First down on the 22. Here's Betts, but he can't hold on as the ball pops out. Redskins trying to come back from a pretty decent hole here with 4 minutes gone by in the 4th quarter, trailing 33-14. You got to say to yourself, when you look at a quarterback who's taken a beating, and say this is a game they need to win. Pretty hard to go to Indianapolis to face an unbeaten team and say, you know, this is a game you got to win.
Yeah, but it's because of what happened there over the first 6 ball games that they feel that way. In fact, Mark Brunell this week said it was a must-win game, and I agree with that. I mean, I'm always reluctant to say it's a must-win until it actually is, but if there ever was one, it's this game if they're going to be able to get their season turned around.
The Redskins call a timeout. Well, Troy touched on it. The frustration could be setting in a little bit. Antoine Randall talking to Brandon Lloyd, has to be held back by an assistant coach. Caught 3 passes in the first quarter, nothing since. 2nd and 10, Brunell chased. And that will bring up 3rd down and 10, and it was Dwight Freeney. And there's Santana Moss. Looks like he got hurt. Limping.
Well, we've shown this matchup a few times today. Chris Samuels and Dwight Freeney, and I'm shocked that they didn't get called for the hold, that Chris Samuels didn't get caught for the hold, because he had a pretty good clutch there on Dwight Freeney. But again, Freeney able to get enough pressure on Brunell to force him out of the pocket, and when Brunell's gotten outside the pocket, he just hasn't been able to find anybody. And then there's Santana Moss, and you know, these guys with speed, which Moss certainly has, the hamstring is an injury that we just see more and more of around the league from these types of receivers.
So he's hobbled, and James Thrash, number 83, has replaced him in the lineup. 3rd down and 10. Deep drop for Brunell, completes to Clinton Portis, who's hit immediately. Good tackling by the Colts. Jason David that time, limiting Portis to 5 yards on the reception.
Well, I know this Colts defense, you know, clearly coming into the game, they had their problems in run defense. They've done a decent job, you know, here in this ball game. In the secondary coming in, they had done a good job as far as not giving up a lot of yards, but they really just had not felt like they'd been tested yet. And I think they're going to walk away from this game not feeling like they'd been tested too much either.
Well, they've got a couple of tests coming up with Denver and New England. This will be a 35-yard attempt for Nick Novak. And Novak's kick is no good as it hooked at the last moment. So the score remains 33-14. That was a 15-play drive that gets nothing. 15 plays too long when you're down by this much in the 4th quarter. It's a grim moment for the Redskins since Antoine Randall-L's 87-yard punt return. They've gained only 97 yards in 4 possessions, not put up any points. 1st and 10 now for the Colts. Starting from their 25, Dominique Rhodes. And it's Joseph Adai who has gained 85 yards. Rhodes, that's only his 9th carry of the game. Picks up 2 on that play. Well, remember, the Redskins led at halftime 14-13 after a late stop defensively, and they have been outscored 20 unanswered points by the Colts since then.
Well, you kind of got the feeling based on the way the Colts were moving the ball there in the first half that at some point they were going to be able to put some things together and score touchdowns.
2nd and 8. Manning over the top, completes to Utek, short of the first down by 1.5 yards.
This Colts offense already with over 400 yards of offense and not even halfway through the 4th quarter. still throwing the ball and still staying in their no-huddle offense and just playing their game.
4:15 to be exact. 3rd and 1. They go to Rhodes. Got the first down. Clever move by Dominique Rhodes to the 45-yard line. Jeff Saturday, the center, with a terrific block, gain of 11 yards. So Antoine Randall L. with a big spark for the Redskins with an 87-yard punt return. But 3 second-half drives by the Colts. Manning with 4 TD scores, 2 to Marvin Harrison. And the Colts have a first down on their 45. Dominique Rhodes. And you know that the Colts are going to keep it on the ground and use the clock. 1-yard pickup, and the report on Santana Moss is that he's out for the rest of the game with a hamstring pull. So on a day in which Clinton Portis got shaken up and had to come out, Santana Moss a hamstring pull. Add on that to all of the Redskin woes, it's going to be a long bye week coming up.
Yeah, well, the good news is they do have the bye week, so maybe some of these guys will be able to get healed up. But when they come off the bye, I mean, the fact that they're going to be playing Dallas and then at Philadelphia doesn't bode real well for this team either, based on the way they've been playing. 2nd down and 9 out of the backfield, Dominique Rhodes, and he is hit as he gets into Colt territory to the 49, get 5 yards. Sean Springs, who had come out earlier, back to make the tackle. Well, Colts with several milestones today. Peyton Manning moving into 10th all-time with his 256th career touchdown pass, and Marvin Harrison ties a Colt record held by Lenny Moore with 113 TD grabs. Third and 4. Here's Wayne. Reggie Wayne with some good running after the catch gets inside the 35 for a gain of 14. You know, we see the numbers by Peyton Manning that the graphic showed, and then, you know, Marvin Harrison. We all know about Peyton Manning and what he's done, and then Marvin Harrison. I mean, what a delightful guy to be around, number one. And with all of the things that are going on around the league with various wide receivers, I mean, here's a guy who just goes out and does his job. They did a poll this offseason with 9 defensive backs and asked them who the hardest guy in the league was to cover. 8 of them said Marvin Harrison. I think that tells you right there that he might very well be the best in the game.
I don't think there's any doubt, and Peyton Manning paid him what I consider, you did too, an ultimate compliment. He says maybe the only number 2 receiver who could be number 1, you know, in the NFL, and he clicked off the names that he thought were the top receivers in the game, and some clubs have no definitive number 1 guy, but he said Reggie Wayne could be a number 1.
Well, Reggie Wayne certainly could be. I mean, that's what makes this offense go, is that they've got 2 of those weapons, and you know, not many guys have the opportunity to go from a number 2 to a number 1. But he signed a long-term contract himself. He's happy to be here, and he doesn't mind the fact that Marvin Harrison is the guy who's going to be the focal point of this offense within the passing game.
2nd down and 6. Dominique Rhodes outside gets to the 30-yard line, and he said Marvin Harrison hasn't changed from day 1 when they first became teammates.
You know, it's really amazing because Marvin Harrison now in his 11th season, and yet Peyton Manning said he is showing no signs of slowing down. I mean, this guy has had 7 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, 7 consecutive 10-plus touchdown seasons. It's really a tribute to him and his work ethic. Peyton said nobody works harder on the team than Marvin Harrison.
3rd down and 5 on the Redskin 29. And stopping the clock and spiking the ball.
Not sure what happened. It looked like Peyton Manning thought the whistle blew and they were stopping the play, but the officials now saying it's 4th down. So
looked like he was looking up at the play clock, looking straight ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. If he thought somebody was offsides, he thought it was an illegal, a false start on his own offense. He came off the field acting as if he thought that they had whistled the play dead because of a false start. He throws it into the ground in frustration. Now it's 4th down.
Adam Vinatieri with a 47-yard kick, and the whistle blows. Flag is down.
Prior to the kick, timeout, Indianapolis.
In the end zone.
This is their first charge timeout.
So the Colts call a timeout. That's their first. We'll take a break. Under 5 minutes to go. Peyton Manning says, what happened? Tony said, don't worry, we're up big. Adam Vinatieri attempting a 47-yard field goal with 4:45 remaining in the 4th quarter. The Colts trying to add on to their lead, and the kick is good. 23 unanswered points by the Colts after they trailed 14-13 at halftime to Joe Gibbs Redskins. And a timeout here in Indy. At Comerica Park, try to even the series at a game apiece. Vinatieri's kick fielded by Rock Cartwright, and Cartwright brings it out beyond the 30-yard line.
I am a little surprised that Mark Brunell is coming in right now to play. One, he's a little banged up, and then two, with the game kind of out of hand. I mean, whether that's Todd Collins or maybe right now you do give a chance to a guy like Jason Campbell to come in and get some work.
I think you're going to have to find out what Jason Campbell can do before you go to the draft next year. Here is Brunell's first pass, and it's caught by Antoine Randall. But going into the bye week, and it should be very interesting for the Redskins. And of course, the first attention will be for Joe Gibbs. What do you do about the quarterback now? Look at that schedule. They got the Cowboys, Philly, and Tampa Bay on the road, and then Carolina. It does not get any easier after this Colt game. But you wonder what kind of moves, and you have a feeling some will be made.
Well, yeah, you do, but I would say that based on the decision to bring Mark out right now on this possession, that Joe Gibbs then didn't want to bring in Jason Campbell or Todd Collins to send a message that, well, maybe there will be some changes. It makes me believe that there won't be any at the quarterback position.
Randall gets the first down, picking up 8 yards.
That always seems to be the position that everybody points to whenever a team's struggling. Well, if we just replace the quarterback, and I'm not suggesting in any way that Mark Brunell is removed from any fault, but there's a lot of other areas that need shored up.
Liddell Betts with a carry. Brunell, by the way, 21 of 30 for 162 yards and 1 touchdown. But when you complete 21 passes, you expect more than 162 yards. It's been that kind of a game. Pass is caught by James Thrash, and the Redskins have a first down on the Colt 46-yard line. And you wonder, talk about moves, what else would the Redskins and could they do in the next couple of weeks?
Well, I think they just don't, as we said coming into the game, they just don't seem to really have anything to hang their hat on.
Liddell Betts hit by Robert Mathis. No gain.
And I do know this, Dick, that when an offense is struggling, every down is difficult. It becomes hard to just move the football and pick up first downs. And Robert Mathis coming in there and being able to make the play. And this offense is, without question, out of sync.
Off the hand of Antoine Randall. But that was a good pass thrown by Brunell on that occasion. You can see Randall saying, it's on me. So it'll be 3rd down and 10. And, maybe it's the case where Al Saunders, new offense, 700-page playbook. It's going to take maybe a longer while than people expected to get everyone on in sight.
Well, and I don't know what 7 pages means. When you talk about how thick the playbook is, 700 pages thick. But there's no doubt that they do go into games with much more offensive plays than what they did before. In fact, this game today, they went into the game with about 300 offensive plays. You're never going to run that many plays in a game.
Brunell escaping trouble. Gets hit from behind, but a great catch is made by Brandon Lloyd. That's his first reception since the first quarter. Robert Mathis nearly got to Brunell, and a flag is thrown back near midfield.
Well, good job by by Mark Brunell here, being able to step up.
Holding.
And then
Offense, number 60, 10-yard penalty, third down.
So the good catch and the good escape by Brunell nullified by the holding penalty against Chris Samuels.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised again. I mean, there's the right hand that got the jersey. Pretty easy for the official to see. But they have just not, that I've seen anyway, give Chris Samuels any help whatsoever on the outside.
Didn't look that way.
And I know that, you know, Al Saunders, when we talked with him, you always run the balance of protecting the offensive tackles against good pass rushers, but then also trying to get enough guys out in the route to give your quarterback somewhere to throw with the ball.
Third down and 20, and the screen to Liddell Betts. Betts on the run, and Liddell Betts will have a first down with a great play on the screen. And it was Robert Mathis who got him from behind. Yes, the big lineman downfield. And let's see where they spot the ball. He may not have that first down.
Well, if I was Mark, I'd be asking the official right now that I want a measurement. And then they would be forced to stop the clock, because how do you know exactly what to run? It may be a first down, but it's certainly worth measuring.
Well, they're going to run it on fourth down, and Betts will get it anyway.
Well, it gets it anyway, but the clock could have been stopped, and then they could have regrouped and actually thrown a pass rather than having to run it to pick up the first down.
And Mike Doss shaken up. Colts, of course, playing without Bob Sanders, who had knee surgery 3 weeks ago, the free safety. And so Mike Doss has had to start at strong, and Antoine Bethea, who has started at both safety positions for Tony Dungy. So talk about the combination of the head coach and Dungy and the quarterback and Manning. Well, since the merger, who have been the best? Well, this one has. Dungy and Manning with the top winning percentage, followed by John Madden and Ken Stabler with the Oakland Raiders. Mike Ditka and Jim McMahon. And the Patriot duo, let's not forget Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Those are the best head coaching, quarterback winning percentages, and the Colts are number one.
Well, and it was such a good combination for when Tony Dungy became the head coach here in Indianapolis that, you know, as we talked about a little bit earlier, that Tom Moore was already in place, and a coach that Tony Dungy had a prior relationship with. And so the offense remains intact, and then Tony Dungy comes in and he addresses the defensive side of the ball, trying to get them better. So now you really have the best of both worlds. You've still got the productive offensive side of the ball that they've had prior to Tony Dungy coming here, and then he's been able to do some things that have upgraded the defensive side.
Tom Moore, of course, got to know Tony Dungy when they were both in Pittsburgh. Dungy was a player, actually, a defensive back, and then an assistant coach. And Tom Moore was the offensive coordinator under Chuck Noll's regime. And Dungy has great respect for the Steeler head coach who won 4 Super Bowls. In fact, Tony Dungy was actually a player coach at one time. Not a head coach, an assistant coach, but also a player, and you don't see much of that. So Mike Doss is being helped off the field. That's a very tough injury for the Colts, and he'll be replaced by Matt Giordano.
Yeah, it is a tough injury because, as you said, Bob Sanders is already out, and Antoine Bethea, as a result, who's played well, has played in all 6 games. In fact, has started all 6 games, but now they hope Bob Sanders will at least be back next week.
First and 10 at the 33. Screen to Betts. First down, flag down, and Betts goes out of bounds. Pending the call, the flag thrown back at the 35. Be a 13-yard gain pending. Joe Gibbs.
Holding. Offense, number 61. 10-yard penalty. Still first down. This is the 2-minute warning.
So Chris Samuels and Casey Robach both called for holding, nullifying good gains for the Redskins. Yes, frustration for the Redskins. 2-minute warning. 36-14 the score. 2-minute warning with the Colts headed for victory. They'll go 6-0 as they lead 36-14. Redskins with a first down on the Colt 43. Big day for Peyton Manning with 4 touchdown passes. Brunell going underneath to Liddell Betts, and he gets to the 31. Today's game being produced by Richie Zients and directed by Artie Kempner. The technical producer is Dave Hill. Production coordinator is Francisco Contreras. Technical director is Rich Basili, and the audio mixer is Fred Aldis. The associate directors are Greg Scopatoni and Derek Manning. Betts again.
Ball.
And a special thanks to Joe Stevens and the rest of the technical crew, the broadcast associates, Zach Fields and Rich Gross. Pre-game show produced by Scott Ackerson and directed by Bob Levy. The studio technical supervisor is Jack Simmons. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. As Liddell Betts gains a couple more, and the executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. Our thanks to our spotter Chris Visser and our statistician Rick Odioso. As the clock ticks down, Troy, to a minute remaining, and the Colts will become the 9th team in NFL history to start at 6-0 in back-to-back years. Here's Betts with shoulder pads flying. Picks up 5 yards. Don't forget the OT follows our game, presented by Lowe's. And the big event, of course, besides the scores and highlights, BCS standings update. And then game 2 of the World Series to follow that show. Slant caught at the 6 by Brandon Lloyd. So the Redskins will drop to 2-5 on the year. Timeout called by Washington. And the Colts will now open up a 3-game lead over Jacksonville in the AFC South. There's the NFC East standing. So the winner of the Giant Dallas game tomorrow will vault over the Eagles into first place.
Yeah, things got awfully tight there in the East with the loss by the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think this Colts team here today, I think they got better. And when the game ends, I know there's been some frustration on their part on the offensive side of the ball. Of course, the run defense has been a concern. Anthony McFarland is going to really help them. I think he helped them today, and he played a lot more than what they anticipated coming into this game. But he did a good job, and so they've certainly gotten better. And what they were able to do on the offensive side of the ball by scoring some points, and Washington came into this game much like the other teams have, not wanting to give up some big plays, yet they still went out and executed. So this was a good performance by Indianapolis against a team in the Washington Redskins that they've got a lot of things they've got to address here next week.
No question about it. TJ Duckett is in the lineup, but Brunell looking to throw it, has time, and the pass is caught for the touchdown by James Thrash with 18 seconds remaining. A 5-yard strike.
They're able to get something at least positive out of this last drive. And even for a team that was in the no-huddle offense to try to score, it didn't really seem like they were trying to score all that quickly. They were still throwing a lot of the underneath things. And whether this was just an opportunity for them to try to put together some type of drive so that they could leave this game on a positive note and try to build on something. But at 2-5, it's hard to start building on losses. I mean, at some point you got to start winning some games, and this is an organization and a team that knows that.
2-point conversion coming up. Brunell up the middle, and they got it to Cooley. So Chris Cooley with the 2-point conversion and a 70-yard drive, and it's 36-22. And I think there's a lot of meaning here. Joe Gibbs had keeping Brunell in. Let's fight to the end and not just fizzle out. And the Redskins did show at least that.
Well, I would agree with that to a point, but at the same time, I think that you've got to look at it and say, okay, well, what are we going to do to get better? And they say that each and every week. I know that. And as coaches, you look at it, you try to break it down and say, okay, who are we? What are we? What are we wanting to become? Joe Gibbs has always been about running the football. They came in here today expecting to be able to pound the ball to Clinton Portis against the worst run defense in the National Football League, and they really weren't able to do it with Clinton Portis. They had some pretty good runs there with Liddell Betts, but you just kind of wonder what the future is of this Washington team, because you go out each offseason and you acquire players that you think are going to upgrade your team, and sometimes you got to look at it and say, okay, what's the chemistry of this group? And just bringing in players sometimes doesn't improve your team because it doesn't improve your chemistry, which I think is very important in this league and important to winning.
Yeah, you need role players, not just guys that want the ball. And so the Redskins really have not yet answered the question, what is the identity of this football team?
I don't think we have any more answers today at the end of this game than we had coming in.
Well, we know the Colts are undefeated. And the onside kick, Derek Frost will attempt it. Loose ball. And a scramble. And it is recovered by the Colts. So let's take a look at the AFC South standings. Colts now 6-0, 3-game lead over the Jaguars, who are shocked by Houston moving ahead of Tennessee. And you wonder, I think Tony Dungy enjoys the fact that the Colts have not had a lot of spotlight on them. He says the players listen to the coaches more, but sooner or later they're going to say, hey, this team hasn't lost.
Well, I think Tony's fooling himself a little bit, because I do think the spotlight's been on them, because people do know they're a great football team and they are undefeated. Now, last year they started out the year 13-0 and they wrapped up their division very early. And they run the risk, and I say risk because I don't know that it's a positive thing. I don't know that it was last year. After starting the year off 13-0 and then those last few games not being very meaningful, they lost 3 of their last 4. And so, you want to have those games mean something to where you can keep your edge down the stretch.
Denver and New England to follow the victory, 36-22. The Colts over the Redskins, and we'll be back to Indianapolis in a moment.